was reported last week that Democrats still controlling the House have approved legislation to prevent Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and other detainees at Guantanamo Bay from being transferred to the U.S. for trials in criminal courts. Now, this, of course, is following the conviction of Ahmed Gilani, who was only found guilty on one of many, many counts, but the guy's going to go to prison for perhaps for life. And the conviction rate in criminal courts is far greater than in these military commissions. Give me your sense of what this is about. I mean, what this is the one thing they can get done in the lame duck session?
Well, I think there's a real question of what the Obama administration's actual position on this legislation is. Of course, publicly they've said that they oppose it, but frequently they take a public position and then work behind the scenes privately for the opposite outcome. What we know is that Eric Holder, a year ago, to his great credit, announced that the 5 9/11 defendants, including Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, were going to be tried in a real court, in a federal court, with all the civil protections that courts and the Constitution afford to people that we want to imprison. And because of the political firestorm that erupted, essentially the White House overruled him, which was an extraordinary thing for the political arm of the White House to overrule decisions about prosecutions made by the Attorney General. And
that's something that only happens. That's something that was a huge scandal in the Bush administration, frankly.
Right. That was something that Democrats used to really get angry about. When that was the argument, the crux of the Alberto Gonzales scandal was that the White House was firing prosecutors and as a means of controlling prosecutions and which ones were made and which ones weren't in a way that advanced their interests. And Richard Nixon tried controlling the Watergate investigation by firing the Attorney General and the special prosecutor that led to the Saturday Night Massacre. So this effort to control Justice Department decisions on the part of the White House is something that really is quite alarming. They did the same thing by trying to direct Eric Holder not to prosecute Bush officials for torture and eavesdropping crimes as well for political reasons. So you've seen this repeatedly. And so clearly the White House said that they were going to make an announcement that Obama was going to decide himself where these 5 defendants should be tried. And they've never, it's been almost a year now while these defendants continue to rot away at Guantanamo, and they've never made any kind of decision at all about where these trials are going to take place. Clearly they don't want to put them in civilian trials, but they also don't want to override Holder. They don't want to make a decision at all. Legislation that would say we're defunding your ability to bring these detainees to the United States in order to try them would essentially solve the problem for them. They could say, well, it's not our fault that we're not trying them. The Congress has prevented us. And Adam Serwer in the Washington Post actually has a piece assessing what he thinks is the likelihood that the Obama administration behind the scenes is signaling to the Democrats in Congress that they're absolutely fine with this legislation as a means of taking the problem away from them.
Right. I mean, it's almost impossible to imagine that the Democrats in Congress have this on their list of things to do in the lame duck session. It would create much more problems for the Republicans, frankly, for them to have to do it down the road. Of course, the Republicans wouldn't do it. They would use it to bash the Obama administration. So this is a pretty cynical move as far as I can tell. But and just quickly, I also want to just get your take on, I guess it was last week or a week or two ago, that a federal judge basically decided that the father of the anti-American cleric, Anwar al-Awlaki, has no standing to ask the U.S. government to not assassinate his son. Tell us a little bit about this, because I don't think people understand what authority the Obama administration is asserting here.
Right. Well, it's 100% confirmed by Dana Priest in the Washington Post first, and then the New York Times and the Washington Post a few months later, that the Obama administration, that President Obama has compiled a hit list of at least 4 American citizens whom the CIA is directed and authorized to kill with a drone attack or anything else. This killing would take place far away from any battlefield. So the person it's not on a battlefield where the killing happens when he's fighting American troops, he could be sleeping in his house, he could be riding in a car with his friends or family on his way to work, wherever, as many of these drone attacks have taken place. And the individuals on this list, such as Al-Awlaki, have never been charged with any crime whatsoever. They've never been indicted, let alone convicted. So the accusation that they're terrorists or that they deserve to die is one that is purely the unilateral byproduct of the decision of the president without any oversight or checks whatsoever from any of the other branches. So it's essentially the president literally acting as judge, jury, and executioner. I mean, it's a unilaterally imposed presidential death penalty on American citizens without a shred of due process. This is the power that the Obama administration, though not the Bush administration, has asserted for itself, has essentially seized. And one of the confirmed individuals on the list, the only one who's confirmed, is Anwar al-Awlaki, who's an American-born cleric, as you said, and is now currently in Yemen. And the U.S. has actually tried to kill al-Awlaki in late 2009 as part of those strikes in Yemen that we just discussed, where not only did the U.S. government lie and say that these airstrikes were not done by them, these airstrikes were actually targeting a U.S. citizen. That's what the U.S. government lied about and said that it wasn't them who was doing it, but the Yemeni government. So in order to prevent Obama from carrying out this assassination, this lawless assassination, the ACLU and Center for Constitutional Rights went into court on behalf of al-Awlaki's father and said that al-Awlaki's constitutional rights to due process are being violated. The Fifth Amendment says the government cannot deprive you of life or liberty or property without due process of law, which is exactly what this is. And the argument was that al-Awlaki himself cannot possibly emerge from hiding, and hire a lawyer and go into court because the United States government has made very clear that the minute they know where he is, they want to kill him. And so he has to remain in hiding. So the only way that his constitutional rights can be vindicated is if a family member sues on his behalf. And this is a common doctrine. If someone is incapacitated, unconscious, or otherwise unable to assert their rights, you can have the next of kin or someone who can represent your interests sue on your behalf to vindicate your rights. And the government, in response, said that because al-Awlaki, there's nothing preventing him from doing it himself, his father has no standing to sue. And beyond that, they said decisions about who gets killed in war are purely for the president to make. The courts have no role whatsoever to play in reviewing those decisions. That's sort of a classic George Bush, Dick Cheney view of the world. And this federal judge, who was appointed by George W. Bush, a Bush 43 appointed judge, very right-wing and conservative, upheld the Obama DOJ's arguments and said that, indeed, that is true, that al-Awlaki could just do this himself, and so therefore his father can't sue, and that the courts have no role to play in decisions about who should get killed as part of wartime. And so the judge adopted those decisions. The judge did not rule on whether the president really has this power. And in fact, in his decision, he said it's an extraordinary and unprecedented power that Obama is asserting. It's extraordinary for the president to claim that he has the right to order American citizens killed with no due process. But unfortunately, said the court, I can't rule on this because the father lacks standing and it's not my role to override the president. So, that's what the Bush administration constantly succeeded in doing, was protecting its own conduct from judicial review through these standing arguments, and the Obama administration is now following suit.
And what if they kill him? I mean, then who does anybody have standing? Once he's dead.
Well, presumably, if they kill him, and this is the irony of it, if they kill him, the father would become the executor of the estate and could then sue the government for damages for having killed his son unconstitutionally or illegally. So what the court is really saying is you need to wait until the president kills him, and then you can sue, or he can stand up now and say, hey, I'm over here, I'm ready to sue, and then be killed. So it's really just a bizarrely Kafkaesque resolution that this court imposed, but that's the American judicial system.
And has the Obama administration, given any reason why they have this guy on his list to be killed? Just because of his videos?
Well, that's the mystifying part about all of this, is that al-Awlaki has long been a cleric who, basically al-Awlaki's message is to other Muslims, which says, as long as the United States continues to invade our countries and drop bombs on our lands and kill our women and children at checkpoints and through drone attacks, we have no choice but to attack the United States and to bring violence back to them. That's the only way we can defend ourselves, and that violence becomes justifiable because they're the aggressors. Therefore, you Muslims have not only the right but the sacred, solemn duty to bring violence to the United States the way that they're bringing violence to us. Now, that message is obviously something that the United States considers threatening, but it's also unquestionably a political opinion that the First Amendment permits you to express without being punished. It's a legitimate political opinion that American citizens have the right to express without being punished for them. And so the Obama administration, knowing that it can't kill him because of these sermons, which is what their real concern is, has now invented the claim that he, at some point in the past 12 months, has become, quote-unquote, operational, that he's now not just sermonizing in favor of attacks, but helping to plan the attacks. There's been no evidence presented to the public to support this claim. Most of it has been leaked anonymously, though a couple of Obama officials have put their name on it. But all it is an evidence-free accusation that's never been subjected to any public scrutiny, let alone due process in court. That's the basis on which so many people, Democrats and Republicans alike, are cheering for their fellow citizen to be murdered, namely just pure, untested assertions on the part of government officials that he's guilty.
All right. Well, Glenn Greenwald, thank you so much for your time. Obviously, you can check Glenn Greenwald out at Salon.com or pick up any one of his books, still just as relevant now as they were just a couple years ago when they were written. How Would a Patriot Act, A Tragic Legacy, and Great American Hypocrites. Glenn, thank you so much.
Thanks, Sam. Bye-bye.